What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another Heart Over Height episode. Today we're going to be discussing everything Tyus Jones and how I was absolutely right from a few videos ago where I did discuss the fact that Tyus Jones was the perfect fit in Phoenix and they went out and they did it. So if you do enjoy this content, do me a huge favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below on whether you like this signing for them or whether you don't necessarily love it for them. And without further ado, let's jump right on into this. So, it was breaking news today that Tyus Jones, one of the top remaining free agents, agreed on a one-year, $3.3 million deal to play for the Phoenix Suns. Now, there's some question marks with their depth chart as to where exactly he'll play. I'll get into that in just a second. But I want to talk about how much of a steal this is. Tyus Jones, his last season, he averaged 12 points a game for the Wizards, shot the ball 41% from three. Like, he had a very solid year for them. And yes, of course, the Wizards were a very poor performing team, but Tyus Jones himself, before he was in Washington, he played for Memphis behind Ja Morant, and he proved that he's one of the best backup point guards in the NBA, if not a better starting point guard / backup point guard. And the Suns couldn't be too picky, but they got the perfect guy to fill their need. So let's talk about their depth chart. Now, right now, ESPN has it listed where they're going to bring him off the bench. I think as the season rolls along, they're going to experiment with a Tyus Jones, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal lineup where they play those three guys, and then you have Kevin Durant and Jusuf Nurkic. Now, I like that lineup a whole lot better than having D-Book at the point guard. I think D-Book plays better as a two, kind of more playing through the point guard, not necessarily playing as the primarily ball dominant player. Like I spoke about it in my last video specifically, I talked about how Chris Paul was there for Devin Booker when he made the finals. He's kind of needed a point guard alongside him to be very successful. Clearly last season it didn't necessarily work. They adjusted to that. They went and got Tyus Jones, and not only Tyus Jones but Monte Morris as well. So they're going to have some solid depth there, which is something that Phoenix desperately needed from last season, with the fact that they got bounced early, and then the injuries from Bradley Beal and injury from Kevin Durant as well, of course. Now let's talk about what this means overall for the Suns. I think what they're getting is, like I had said in Washington, he averaged 12 points a game. He shot very well from the field and very efficient from the three-point line, 40%, like I was saying before, from the three-point line, 80% free throw shooter, solid all around. But the big thing is he averaged 7 assists over in Washington. That number's probably going to go up for him in Phoenix. What the Suns needed was not a score-first option. They got 3 scorers here. Now they have one of the best playmakers in the league, with at the point guard's state being Tyus Jones, and then they have the best three-point shooter in the league, or three-point percentage from last season being Grayson Allen. Then you pair them with D-Book, who obviously we know what D-Book can do. We know what Kevin Durant do. There's still question marks on Bradley Beal and whether he will be fully healthy, as well as whether he's going to play at a high level and whether he fits with Phoenix. And then you have Jusuf Nurkic. They went out and addressed some injury issues possibly there with bringing in some depth with Royce O'Neal. You have Mason Plumlee. Bull still a huge question mark on the back of the bench that I don't really think at this point he's going to turn into anything. It is interesting, though, that somebody like Josh Okogie is just disappearing off this roster. He's now listed as a 5th-string player for the Suns. Of course, I think he's got a little more value than that, but right now, I think you look at how they're going to compete in the West. Does Tyus Jones help them push the needle? And the answer is yes, slightly. I think that when I dropped a video on the rankings, I had them as an 8 seed. I think it brings them up to around a 6th, 5th seed, maybe just missing the play in there. Does it necessarily make them a championship roster? I think you can't really necessarily put a whole notch saying no on it, because you don't know exactly what Bradley Beal's going to bring, because at this moment this Suns organization and roster that they've constructed right now feels a lot like the Nets organization when they traded for James Harden, Kyrie, and KD. How the 3 of them didn't get enough time to play together. KD, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker have barely played together in any sense. So yes, I would say as the season goes on, I think that they're going to experiment with this lineup a lot, seeing whether Tyus Jones is going to be a great fit. And can you handle having Bradley Beal at the 3 mark? Is he going to even play a whole lot for you? Will he be healthy? And then if not, can you go and explore other options to, maybe you look at if Bradley Beal is not really fitting, do you look to try and ask him? I know obviously he's making a ton of money to come off the bench, but if that's the best case scenario for them to go win games, where you have a lineup of Tyus Jones, D-Book, Grayson Allen, Kevin Durant, and Nurkic, and then Bradley Beal can just do whatever the hell he wants on the bench, then that kind of works out. Off the bench, you then have Monte Morris, Bradley Beal, Royce O'Neal, whoever, whether it's Damian Lee or maybe Bol Bol or Nasir Little and Mason Plumlee. That's a pretty solid lineup right there. As we have seen in the past, in the NBA, the thing that wins championships is depth. The Warriors, the Celtics, the Nuggets, they all prove it. The Heat, they prove it. The Lakers, they prove it. And by the Heat, I mean the fact, lack thereof depth for them in the bubble scenario. And, you just see this roster is kind of getting there. A lot of kind of older players still dealing with some injuries and everything like that. As we see, some of these guys are listed as day-to-day right now. I think they'll be healthy for the season. The question mark with Phoenix is all about cohesion. Does Devin Booker fit with Bradley Beal, and does Bradley Beal fit with Kevin Durant, and does Kevin Durant fit with D-Book? It is all there. You have all the pieces there, just as the Nets had Kyrie, KD, and James Harden. Do you have enough time with this organization to really put things together in the sense of, are you going to be able to compete with Minnesota, which has a lot of long wings, has a lot of depth? Are you going to be able to compete with Oklahoma City, who's a very long lineup? So if you do run that Bradley Beal at the 3 or Grayson Allen at the 3, are you going to be able to compete? And then the one problem I did have with this signing is there's clearly a huge defensive issue here. I know KD is a plus defender. He's not necessarily the worst. Nurkic isn't a terrible defender, not my favorite, but Bradley Beal is not a good defender. D-Book, his defense has gotten better, but he's going to be focusing on that offensive end. Tyus Jones is not a great defender either. I know he averaged 1 steal, but yesterday I put out that video saying players that average a lot of steals aren't necessarily good defenders, i.e. Trae Young, i.e. You have all those guys out there that LaMelo Ball is a great example of that, of just players that average a lot of steals but don't necessarily end up being good defenders. Tyus Jones was listed as one of the more bottom tier defenders, as he kind of does this Olay defense when you have a point guard who does that Olay defense, you need to have a rim protector behind it, being a Rudy Gobert, being a Chet Holmgren, Victor Wembanyama, someone like that. That's why in that video I posted about Tyus Jones, Phoenix would have been a good option for him, but also someone like San Antonio or even Minnesota would have been perfect. Obviously, they drafted Rob Dillingham, and then Stephon Castle was drafted for the Spurs, and so on and so forth. But overall, I do really like this signing. Of course, I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate, showing both sides. I think overall it's going to be more positive than negative. Of course, time will tell. A lot of it is going to have to do with Bradley Beal. A lot of it will he be healthy, and can they play all together? So, if you guys do enjoy this video, do me a huge favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below on whether or not you like the signing for them, or if there was somebody else there for a better option. But at $3.3 million, there's not really too much you can get. So with that being said, it's been another Heart Over Height episode, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.